Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Deliverance from Error, Al-Munqidh al-Dalal. And we have reached his explanation as why he returned to teaching after the 10 years or so, being in retreat, a long retreat in isolation. And in the English translation, this is page 69, he said, I saw then that for such reasons as these, the faith of the various classes of men had become so weak. Also, I considered myself so skilled a practitioner in exposing such sophistries that exposing them was easier for me than downing a mouthful of water, because I had studied deeply their sciences and methods. I mean the methods of the Sufis and the philosophers and the Talimites and the distinguished ulama. It then flashed into my mind that engaging in that activity was a matter destined and inevitable at such a time. What will solitude and seclusion avail you when the disease has become endemic? The physicians are sick, and men are on the brink of perdition. Then I said to myself, when will you devote yourself completely to laying bare this affliction and to battling against this dreadful darkness? It is a time for tepidity and an era of error. But even if you were to engage in calling men from their evil ways to the truth, all the men of this age would be hostile to you. How then would you stand up against them? And how could you put up with them? For that could be done only at a favorable time and under a godly and irresistible sultan. But remember, a godly and irresistible sultan. وسلطان متدين قاهر. The dictum إن الله لا يزع بالسلطان ما لا يزع بالقرآن. So if you that God would utilize, would change the behavior of people, modify the behavior of people through the political office. That's the sultan. Whether you call him a sultan, you call him a king, you call him a khalifa, you call him a prince, an amir, Amir Mu'mineen, it's the sultan. That which does not move them, or they would not be moved by the Quran itself. So all this possible, all these possible teachings from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace upon him, and we have so many beautiful texts, but the impact sometimes is not that great, not because of the anything lacking in the text. This is revelation. This is really a perfected, and complete religion. But the issue is that people would need, how many people stop at the traffic light because traffic light or stop sign, because it's in their interest, because this is a moral position. And how many people stop simply because there is a policeman there, or there is a camera, or Thus I sought a compromise between myself and God Most High, which would permit me to remain in seclusion, alleging as an excuse my inability to expound the truth with competent argument. But God Most High determined to move the Sultan of the time to act on his own, and not because of any external instigation. He peremptorily ordered me to hasten to Nishapur to face the threat of this stupidity. Indeed, so peremptory was his order that, had I persisted in refusing to comply, it would have ended in my disgrace. Then it occurred to me that the reason for excusing yourself has lost its force. Hence, your motive for clinging to seclusion ought not to be laziness and ease, and self-aggrandizement, and protecting yourself from the harm caused by men. Why, indeed, should you try to find license for such conduct in the difficulty of struggling against men? For God, praised and exalted He, says, Alif Lam Mim, ALM, that's Alif Lam Mim. أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Do men think they will be left to say we believe without being subjected to tribulation? وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِهِمْ. Indeed, we have already tried those who were before them. And assuredly God knows those who speak truly and assuredly. He knows the liars. He also says, mighty and glorious He, to His apostle, who is the dearest of His creatures, to His messenger, لرسوله وهو أعز خلقه. ولقد كذبت رسل من قبلك فصبروا على ما كذبوا وأوذوا حتى أتاهم نصرنا ولا مبدل لكلمات الله ولقد جاءك من نبأ المرسلين. Apostles, messengers before you have already been given the lie, and they endured the false charge and the injury done them until our help came to them. Now there is no one who can change the words of God, and there has already reached you some report about those we sent. The Mighty and Glorious also says, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم. Imam Al-Ghazali says, إلى قوله إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر. And it has been translated into Yasin, Y-S. It's Yasin, by the wise Quran. You are indeed of those we have sent on a straight way, sent down by the sending of the Mighty, the Merciful, to warn a people whose fathers were not warned, so that they are heedless. True indeed what has been said against most of them, for they do not believe. Assuredly, we have placed on their necks iron collars, chin high, so that their heads are held up. We have also put a barrier before them and a barrier behind them, and we have blinded them so that they do not see. All the same to you, whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. You warn only him who follows the remembrance and fears the Lord of mercy in the unseen. And this is something that the translator uh, it's good that he included all the texts that Imam Ghazali referred to. So practically he mentioned, he 11 verses from verse 1 until verse 11 of Surah Yasin, when verse 1 is the Basmala itself. The وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا من بين أيديهم. It's true that we have also put a barrier before them and a barrier behind them. من بين أيديهم. I remember listening to the interpretation of Professor Samir Rai. Really, probably at least one of the top authorities on Arabic language today in the Arab world, is Iraqi. So when he explained this particular verse, he said literally min bayni aydihim, that it's pretty close to the body, restricting the movement also. Imam Ghazali continues, subsequently I consulted on that matter a number of those skilled in discerning hearts and visions, and they were of one mind in advising me to abandon my seclusion and to emerge from my religious retirement. Those skilled in discerning hearts. Beautiful. I love the Arabic أرباب القلوب. أرباب القلوب. They are masters of the hearts. They are lords of the hearts. They are, and really, if you ask who are they or who were they, they were Imam Al-Ghazali. Yeah, this is what has always been my thinking whenever I read this text. It's Sufi masters, none else. Sufi masters, and that's their domain. The heart is their domain. In addition to that, certain godly men, Salihin, had many recurrent dreams attesting that this move of mine would be a source of good and the right procedure, and that it had been decreed by God. Praise be He. So it has been decreed by God for the beginning of this century. And we need to, mention something here. Okay. For the beginning of this century, at the head, at the tip, at the beginning, at the initial part of the century, for God, praise be He, has indeed promised to revivify His religion at the beginning of each century. Hence the revival of the Islamic sciences, okay? And He is the reviver. So my hope was strengthened and I became quite optimistic because of these testimonies. What does it mean? If you read the Arabic, وقد وعد الله سبحانه بإحياء دينه على رأس كل مئة. على رأس كل مئة. على رأس كل مئة. That's part of a hadith. That's part of a hadith. And if we talk about Muslim scholars reading this text, those who are acquainted of these traditions, we need to at least mention the tradition The Messenger of Allah قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يبعث لهذه الأمة على رأس كل 100 سنة من يجدد لها دينها. First of all, the translation that the Messenger of Allah, peace upon him, said, verily Allah sends to this ummah at the tip of each 100 years, at the beginning of each 100 years, like we talk about 100 years cycles, if you will, someone who will revive its religion, which is Islam. Islam doesn't change, but an understanding might really change human endeavor. There could be lack of people need to be motivated. They might busy themselves with one part of the religion rather than all the religion, whatever. So the revival. And why Imam Ghazali was encouraged? He is indeed considered the reviver, al-mujaddid, the mujaddid of that century. So did Imam Ghazali see himself as the mujaddid? I'm tempted to say yes, inshallah. So again, those godly men had many recurrent dreams attesting that this move of mine would be a source of good and a right procedure, and that it had been decreed by God. Praise be He for the beginning of this century. For God, yes, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has indeed promised to verify His religion at the beginning of each century. So my hope was strengthened, and I became quite optimistic because of these testimonies. God Most High facilitated my move to Nishapur to undertake the serious task in the month of Dhul Qa'dah 499. And that's really 6 years approximately before his death, rahimahullah. And that's July 11, 06. Remember, he died 11/11. My departure from Baghdad had been in Dhul Qa'dah 488. That's the equivalent of 1095. So the period of my seclusion amounted to 11 years. This move to Nishapur was decreed by God Most High, and it was one of the marvels of His four ordinations, not a glimmer of which was in my mind during the period of seclusion, just as the possibility of my leaving Baghdad and giving up my position there had never occurred to my mind. But God Most High is the changer of minds and states, and the heart of the believer is between two of the fingers of the Lord of mercy. قلب المؤمن بين إصبعين من أصابع الرحمن. I know well that even though I have returned to teaching, I have not really returned. For returning is coming back to what was. Formerly I used to impart the knowledge by which glory is gained for glory's sake, and to invite men to it by my words and deeds, and that was my aim and my intention. But now I invite men to the knowledge by which glory is renounced, and its lowly rank recognized. This is now my intention, my aim, my desire. God knows that to be true of me, I now earnestly desire to reform myself and others, but I do not know whether I shall attain my desire or be cut off by death short of my goal. Yet I believe, with a faith as certain as direct vision, that there is no might for me and no power saving God, the sublime, the mighty, and that it was not I who moved, but He moved me, and that I did not act, but He acted through me. وأني لم أتحرك لكنه حركني وأني لم أعمل ولكنه استعملني. I asked him then to reform me first, then to use me as an instrument of reform, to guide me, then to use me as an instrument of guidance, to show me the true as true, and to grant me the grace to follow it, and to show me the false as false, and to grant me the grace to eschew it. فأسأله أن يصلحني أولا ثم يصلح بي ويهديني ثم يهدي بي وأن يريني الحق حقا ويرزقني اتباعه وأن يريني الباطل باطلا ويرزقني اجتنابه. Now we are there's only one part left of this book, and I think it's appropriate. It's the remedies for the tepid. That's really from subtitle from the translator, which is perfectly right. Inshallah, we will deal with this tomorrow. بإذن الله عز وجل. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.